What is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of your existence? Are you looking for a meaning? Yes? Is that why you're reading philosophy? You've probably come to the wrong place. This world, everything you see and what you are, is God annihilating himself. Everything you witness, your own body, your own inevitable death, you will die alone in a ditch no matter how many children you have, is God, after losing his initial unity, is God turning himself into a cadaver. All of this, all the senseless wars and genocides, etc., is just God totally self-annihilating. Does that bother you? Because if you were looking for the meaning of life, this is where this question leads you. This is where 2,500 years of misguided ontotheology lead the European soul. Philip Mainländer, a German thinker in the 19th century, now all but forgotten, articulated that crude thought, or maybe that most honest thought, that the invisible religion has got to lead to inevitably in the end. Baudrillard speaks of the regime of meaning, the terror reign, you could almost say, of meaning. Have you thought that maybe there is something sinister even about the question for meaning itself? That perhaps this attempt to find meaning is not only misguided, but is itself predicated on a moral judgment about the world, about what it is supposed to be, rather than what it is. And again, I implore you, confront reality. Much talk about reality and meaning, but is it ever really confronted? Senseless wars, genocides, no empathy, silly excuses, terrible excuses for slaughter of innocent that we have been witnessing now for the past 2 years. What if this God of which Philip Mainländer speaks, this biblical God, is in fact self-annihilating? So, but what if, contra Philip Mainländer, who is enthralled and bewitched by Judeo-Christian ontotheology, what if a totally different divinity and relationship with the divine is possible? It's not about talking about hope or anything like this, but indeed a religion of the visible that doesn't have to end up in such a position, of a metaphysics of entropy. So if you ask, what is the meaning of life, of my existence, do not fall for the trap of the most perhaps elaborate answer, or perhaps the one that suits you the most and pleases you the most. You are insignificant. You are, if anything, at most, just a moment, a blip, really, of God's self-cadaverization. I I'm not saying this to make anyone feel awful or terrible or do something to themselves. No. But if you ask the question for the meaning of existence, you also have to, in a very severe and serious manner, confront the possibility that life might not just be meaningless, but that its meaning might actually be exactly what Mainlander points out, which is so much more severe than Schopenhauer's will and Nietzsche's cop-out of the creative will to power. What if it's a will to death? And if it's so, if this God only knows self-annihilation, then how do we respond? And what new gods, or rather old gods, do we require? Or shall we try to reconnect? Good night.